Imagine an America where everything felt like it was breaking. The 1970s brought the shame of Vietnam, social disintegration, and an economy suffering from a new, baffling crisis known as stagflation, the toxic combination of high inflation and high unemployment. This deep national malaise created a massive political opening. Into this gloom stepped a former Hollywood actor with an optimistic vision, Ronald Reagan. But to understand how he fundamentally changed America, you have to look deeper than the speeches. So, if you want to know the real story, the policies, the scandals, and the secret organizations that gave him his power, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. The conservative resurgence that brought Reagan to power wasn't just one group. It was a coalition, often called a three-legged stool, uniting three distinct and sometimes contradictory groups who rallied behind a single candidate. Leg 1. Economic conservatives. Grounded in the ideas of free market economists like Milton Friedman, they wanted deep tax cuts and a significant reduction in government regulation and spending. Their goal was to unleash the power of the free market. Leg 2. Foreign policy hawks. They detested the policy of détente, or easing tensions, with the Soviet Union. They believed the U.S. should take a hardline stance to defeat communism, not just contain it, and supported a massive military buildup. Leg 3. Social conservatives. This was the New Right, a grassroots movement of religious evangelicals concerned with social and moral conduct. Organized by Jerry Falwell's Moral Majority, they mobilized millions of previously apolitical Christians into a powerful voting bloc. Their platform was pro-family and pro-American. They specifically organized to oppose abortion following Roe v. Wade, the Equal Rights Amendment, and the gay rights movement, while actively supporting prayer in public schools. They provided the ground game that helped Reagan win. While the Moral Majority provided the votes, a think tank called the Heritage Foundation provided the plan. They gave Reagan a massive 1,100-page policy blueprint called the Mandate for Leadership. Reagan loved it, giving copies to every member of his cabinet, and his administration eventually adopted nearly 2/3 of its 2,000 recommendations. Reagan's solution to the economic crisis was supply-side economics, which critics nicknamed the trickle-down theory. The idea was that if you cut taxes for the wealthy, they would invest that money in new businesses, creating jobs, and the wealth would eventually trickle down to everyone else. Reaganomics had 4 pillars. First, massive tax cuts. Second, domestic spending cuts to programs like food stamps and Medicaid. Third, a massive 35% increase in military spending. And fourth, deregulation. Reagan famously said, "Government is not the solution to our problem, government is the problem." His administration relaxed enforcement of the Clean Air Act, opened public lands for oil drilling, and reduced restrictions on the financial services industry. To get these massive tax cuts passed, Reagan had to use his skills as the great communicator. In a famous moment known as the Pajama Summit, he even negotiated with congressional leaders while wearing his pajamas and robe, recovering from an assassination attempt. The personal touch worked, and the tax cuts were signed into law. Did it work? It was a great trade-off. The Reagan recovery successfully crushed inflation and created 20 million new jobs. But the tax cuts did not pay for themselves. The national debt tripled from $1 trillion to nearly $3 trillion, leaving the U.S. with a massive new burden. There was also a hidden cost. Historians now point to the financial deregulation of the 1980s as a direct cause of the savings and loan crisis, and a seed that would eventually grow into the massive 2008 financial crisis. In foreign policy, Reagan rejected détente. He famously labeled the Soviet Union an evil empire. His strategy was peace through strength, the belief that a clearly superior U.S. military would deter aggression and force the Soviets to negotiate. This led to the Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, mocked as Star Wars, a proposal for space-based lasers to shoot down nuclear missiles. While scientifically impossible at the time, the idea terrified the Soviet leadership. They couldn't afford to compete in a space arms race, helping to bankrupt their system. Reagan wasn't the first president to speak in Berlin. In 1963, JFK famously said, "Ich bin ein Berliner," which an urban legend hilariously claims translates to, "I am a jelly donut." But while JFK offered solidarity, "I am one of you," Reagan came to issue a direct challenge, "You must do this." Reagan's own State Department experts hated his draft speech. They submitted 7 different versions trying to kill the line, "Tear down this wall," calling it naive and provocative. They wanted vague and euphemistic language instead. Reagan overruled them, saying, "The boys at State are going to kill me, but it's the right thing to do." He stepped to the podium and issued the most famous challenge of the Cold War. "Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Reagan's second term, however, was nearly destroyed by the Iran-Contra affair. It started with 2 separate problems. 1, terrorists in Lebanon were holding American hostages, and 2, Congress had passed the Boland Amendment, explicitly banning military aid to the anti-communist Contras in Nicaragua. Administration officials, led by Oliver North, created a secret, illegal solution. They sold weapons to Iran, an enemy, to free the hostages, then took the profits from those sales and illegally diverted the money to fund the Contras. When the story broke in a Lebanese newspaper, the administration went into damage control. National Security Advisor John Poindexter even destroyed a crucial document, a finding signed by President Reagan himself to protect the president from the fallout. This scandal revealed a deep constitutional crisis. It showed the peril of an administration so committed to fighting communism that they were willing to circumvent the Constitution and the rule of law to achieve their goals. Reaganomics cured the stagflation of the 70s, but left the patient with chronic debt. His foreign policy helped win the Cold War, but his administration's secrecy threatened the Constitution. But just as the Cold War ended, a new disorder was beginning. In the next video, we'll watch the Berlin Wall fall by accident and see how a clean war in the Gulf led to a disaster in Somalia. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And a question for the comments: do you think the economic recovery was worth the debt? Let me know below. Until next time, stay curious.